So, Freaky was a lot of fun. Written and direct, written and direct, Written and directed by Christopher Landon, co-written by Michael Kennedy, and starring Kathryn Newton and Vince Vaughn, Freaky is the story of Millie, a young woman who's struggling enough with the troubles of home and high school when she's attacked by a serial killer who has been terrorizing. Why can I not speak today? Terrorizing the teens of this small town, who manages to switch bodies with her in the process. After finding out she has 24 hours to reverse the process or the effects remain permanent, her and her friends are in a race against time to track down her body and prevent further murders, all the while avoiding the authorities as she now inhabits a man whose face is plastered all over the news and wanted posters across town. So for those of you not familiar with Christopher Landon, his main body of work has mostly been involved in the paranormal activity movies over the years, but most recently his claim to fame is the criminally underwatched Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day 2. If you're sensing a pattern, he's doing a very good job of saying, hey, what if blank but slasher movie, and delivering. So for Happy Death Day, it was, hey, what if Groundhog's Day but a slasher movie? And for Freaky, it's, hey, what if Freaky Friday but a slasher film? And it does that very well. So if you've seen Happy Death Day, you pretty much know what to expect here. A good genre comedy wrapped in a nice slasher coating. I do have to say, while this is a body swap comedy first, it is still a slasher movie second. There are a fair amount of kills in this movie, and some of them are pretty brutal and pretty clever. Actually, both fans of comedy and slasher movies have a lot to love here. Freaky does a great job of using the tropes of a body swap comedy to really play with the tropes of the slasher movie genre as well. Or in some places, it does a really good job of playing with the ways that the genres blend. Specifically, there are multiple areas where they play with the fact that both characters are having to get used to the bodies they're in. Millie trying to convince her friend she's her instead of the serial killer, generally it's what you expect, but still, makes for some fun moments. Seeing her interact with her sister, who's a police officer, and trying to convince her of that, even though she's, gung-ho about bringing in the serial killer, as well as some very sweet scenes with her mother, which is also punctuated by one of the funniest, cut the tension moments after that. There was a particularly fun scene in the middle of the movie where our serial killer is forced to realize that he is not in the body of a 6'5", very strong man, but a probably 5'5" young woman. It makes for a fun, tense horror scene, as well as a really, really fun body swap moment. And there are scenes like that throughout the movie. The serial killer slowly realizes how he can manipulate the situations that he's in because he is a young woman, is also really fun. With that being said, none of this would work if the performances weren't there to back up any of these moments that were happening. Our two leads in particular are very fun and mostly succeed at what they're trying to do. I would say of the two, Kathryn Newton is better at playing the other version of herself than Vince Vaughn. She is very intense, very sinister, and even though she is a teenage girl, you still feel the threat, and you're just waiting for her to kill somebody every time she's in a room with anybody. Just super like, ah. As far as Vince Vaughn goes, while I never felt like in the movie he was really being Millie, I never felt like he was actually playing Kathryn Newton, mostly just generic high school girl. He is clearly having a lot of fun. The chemistry he has with his younger co-stars is absolutely great. They play off each other very well, up to and including Vince Vaughn's chemistry with Uriah Shelton, who plays the love interest in the film. I would say they actually have more chemistry than most relationships I see on film, to the point where you're really rooting for them. It's just super fun to see that play out. It still makes for a really good slasher movie. The kills are pretty inventive. For the most part, don't pull their punches. Many of them are pretty brutal. The very first kill in the movie will make you go, oh! In a good way. The only places I have major complaints with the film is that I wish they had gone into a little bit more. It's like, it just left me wanting just a little bit more. Either a little bit more of his day-to-day life, not necessarily his motivation. Not his backstory. One of the funny things about this movie is how they keep the serial killer's background intentionally vague. He is just a killer. They repeatedly play with Millie finding things where she wakes up and just serial killer stuff around and just giving you from that. I also would have liked them to explore Millie's issues a little bit more. Mostly you get a brief scene of reconciliation with her sister, Although it's not much of a spoiler, but spoiler alert, there are issues with Millie's home life as her father has died, and since then her mother and sister are in conflict, mostly because her mother has since become clearly an alcoholic, and they don't really fully address that. Millie and her mother have a reconciliation moment at one point, but they never really resolve the other issues that are happening. I would have liked a few more smaller scale kills to break the movie up as it went along instead of front loading and back loading it more. Partially because the movie did such a great job of playing with the interplay between the two characters and who they were being. I would have just liked to see a little bit more of that. None of these things are big complaints. They're all just minor things that keep it from becoming a really great movie and just being a very fun, good one. So ultimately, if you're in the mood for a good genre mashup that both exemplifies and makes fun of the genres it's presenting while not insulting the audiences that would come from either, I highly recommend checking Freaky out. It's a very good time. You won't be disappointed. So with all that being said, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Do the stuff. My name is James, and I've been arguing semantics. Pervert.